Yo, what up, dude? So I see a lot of people struggling with a certain breakdown in the pitching mechanics, which is what I like call early launch, right? So I'll try to be simple and short and sweet with this, but I talked a lot about extension and getting shoulder extension, getting those shoulders rotated and turned and getting that throwing arm out front, right? Grasping that extension. And I see a lot of guys that I've been working with that struggle with that concept. I don't know exactly what it is that's leading to that breakdown. I'm still trying to grasp, you know, is there something in the beginning phases of the delivery that could potentially be leading to this? But typically what I see is guys that get into the pattern of kind of leading with that elbow and getting into like that pushing action with that arm are usually the guys that tend to, you know, have that trunk more straight upright behind that front knee and releasing it back here. Whereas I just talked about, like, we want to grasp that extension. You look at any guy that you know throws with extremely high power output, they're all capturing like extension and getting out front with the fingertips. It's I heard a really good analogy the other day. I can't exactly, I've watched so much stuff, but I apologize to those who gave me this analogy, but it's like when you're throwing darts, right? Your human instinct is to kind of like get closer to the dartboard, right? Because you want to put it where you want. And I know it's a totally different action with throwing darts compared to throwing a baseball, but it's the same concept of, like, if we're trying to command the baseball and throw it with pretty good velocity, we want to get as close as we can with those fingertips, right? We're going to be able to tunnel better, be on top of the baseball, finish. We talk about spin rate. All of those things are going to increase if we can really get out in extension and get that late launch, right? So that trunk posture kind of straight, but bent over that lead leg. So something that I've been trying to kind of come up with is how can we kill two birds with one stone, in the sense of getting a sensation for pulling the arm through instead of kind of rotating and pushing, and then therefore grasping kind of late launch. So one thing, again, it was the same people that I watched the first video, was the late launch drill. I think it was Texas Baseball Institute. I'm pretty sure it was them, actually. So shout out to them. Great stuff. They came up with this drill concept of getting put, and I did a video on this recently about, like, this drill where you're in late launch, right? And then you pull back and then get right back into it. That's kind of the same concept, but this one, you're in that rocker position and you're getting that, again, trunk kind of over that lead leg, glove tuck, kind of down by the rib cage. So you're getting into that position that we want to be in when we're in late launch. And then instead of like pulling back and throwing, you're going from here to throw. So you're just training your brain, like, hey, that's what we want when we release this ball, right? Your natural tendency is going to be to go back, go, back, go. And you can get there, but again, we're just training that finish, okay? That late launch finish from here to there. And then your body is going to start understanding that that's the position that we want to be in, the more reps that you can do intentionally. And then when you throw, that's what you're supposed to be feeling, right? So just to give a better brain body connection there. And like I said, the next one where I see the correlation from kind of leading with that elbow and pushing the ball through and having early launch, trying to come up with like concepts we can do to get the pec and the lat involved in the throwing motion. And this is where I found, I think like a bell club could be good for that. I think for me personally, and I could be wrong, this is kind of just a trial and error thing, but I find that, like, the heavier the object, the better your throwing mechanics come from, like, incorporating bigger muscle groups excuse me, into the throw. So it's the kind of the same thing with like the bell club. You can get put in like this preset rocker, hold this here, and then get that 90-90, and then when you go to throw it, it's a sensation of pulling that arm through, right? And then throwing it, and then not extending, right? Not finishing that throw until you feel that late launch. So boom, right? Boom. So just, again, it's kind of the trial and error thing for me, just sitting back here trying to come up with concepts. But I can feel from this bell club going from layback having that weight distribution at the top, pulling the arm through the zone instead of rotate push, pulling the arm, and now I can really grasp that late launch by going into that decel pattern with the belt club. Boom. Boom. Okay, so something that I came up with, thinking about how can I really feel both concepts, put them into one. So my biggest encouragement for guys that do struggle with a certain breakdown like that is to really segment and get your body to start feeling those positions. You know, example, late launch, kind of the thing we talked about initially, was grasping that feeling. It's going to feel new because you're used to launching back here, right? So get that feeling, that sensation for grasping extension, and then the same thing for pulling the arm through. That's why I said, like, I'm an advocate for overloading to really feel those sensations. So even if you want to do some like dry throws of hand separation and then feel the pec and the lat get involved and pull the arm through, right? So just, again, it's being intentional about what you're trying to accomplish and then coming up with a precise plan of how can I best accomplish that sensation that we try to get, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can, take that. It's good. Thanks.